Hello, welcome back to All for United WFC. You've had all your team of the seasons throughout the week. This is the one the players really want to win, isn't it? The All for United team of the season. This is the one they all look at and go, I'm in the All for United one. I've made it now. So we're going to get into all that. Obviously, it's Lionesses squad selection day. So we're actually going to start with that. And for the first kind of 5-10 minutes, I can see Vic's already in the comments. That is going to be the talking point, I am sure. So yeah, for the first kind of 5-10 minutes, Barry, I'll come to you then. Lionesses squad. Any surprises? What's your reaction to the squad and obviously the noticeable leaving out of Letizia?
Well, obviously, I come at this from a United point of view. I mean, I'm hardly one to argue with Serena Wiegman, am I? She's won more in her lifetime than I'm ever likely to win. So I can't really argue with her in that respect. I am gobsmacked, though, at the fact that Maya Letizia hasn't made it into the squad ahead of some other people. And I do feel a little bit for Nikita Parris and Hannah Blundell as well. I can understand the logic behind not having Blundell. She hasn't really featured. I look so hot. Oh my God, Graham, you say the sweetest things. So, yeah, I think having Hannah, you always do this to me when I'm trying to make the serious points and then I have to go back into comedy, Barry. And then you wonder. Honestly, it's outrageous hosting skills. So, yeah, for me, I can understand the logic between Hannah Blundell not making it because she hadn't actually featured really in any of the Lionesses games. Mate, you'll find out why in a bit. Don't worry. I'm a bit hot under the collar, that's for sure. Paris, I do feel sorry for as well. I think she's done really well up on the right-hand side this season. I understand you had some people like Katie Robinson being pulled up and given the chance. But if you're going to use the argument for Robinson being given the spot ahead of Paris, then I don't understand the argument for not having Maya Letizia because she is literally the next person groomed, I would have thought, to be in the Lionesses back four. So really, really disappointed that has not happened. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
No, for sure. Well, John said there's conspiracy against our defenders. I'll come to Mia in a second on her thoughts that Turner's not in this squad. Graham, come on. I hope this isn't going to be the thing for this show here. Because what's it taken? How long have we been live? 2 minutes, 40 seconds. And it's already been mentioned. Not from Barry, though. So it's a start. Yeah. Mia, in fact, I'll come to you first, actually. Well, second. I'm already messing this up. What was your kind of thoughts on the reaction of the squad itself? Obviously, no Letizia, no Turner, Blundell for reasons as well. There's other things, obviously, other players that have not missed out. What was your thoughts with that one?
Yeah, so when I saw it, I was initially not massively happy. I just think instantly, and to be fair, it took me 10 minutes and someone else flagged up that Maya wasn't on it. And I was like, what? Because I thought that was a given. I thought after the season she's had, that was one of the confirmed spots. But then I sort of sat on it for a bit and I was like, okay, injuries and, different players have peaked in form at different times. It's probably one of the best we can do, all circumstances considered. But I know where you've come to me, and I was really hoping that Millie Turner was going to be involved, because I just think, and I mean, you'll see in a minute, I think she's had a fantastic season. I think she's been criminally underrated this year. Yeah, so I was a little bit gutted. But yeah, I've heard, Maya's on the standby list, but I don't think that's any consolation for her. I think she needs to be in the 23.
Yeah, I mean, Rob, what about for yourself? What do you make on that line? Obviously, Graham saying it was a big shock. Serena's given her reason, saying that she's more as a fullback. Bit strange, or as a right back. Sorry, bit strange considering she's played exceptionally well as a centre back all season. Is that the only surprise for you, or is there a couple of Vic saying about Jess Park as well? Is that another surprise, or what's your reaction to the squad?
I mean, to be honest, I was sort of. There were a lot of names people were throwing out, and Serena Wiegman, as someone put out, she's very much a creature of habit when it comes to her selections. If you weren't involved in the Arnold Clark Cup squads, if you weren't involved in the squad for against the USA in the Australia, you were never likely to suddenly break into this equation unless you did something really, really special. Now, I think it was quite telling that she spoke about both Nobbs and Beth England. And again, it's good to see Jordan Nobbs finally getting a chance to go to an international tournament after so much, bad luck with injuries. But I think it was like really telling that she put it out to those two, because there will have been conversations. And I know for a fact in Beth England's case, there were conversations where she said last summer, you went to the World Cup more, or you went to the Euros more due to the fact that there wasn't other options at the time. And now the striking competition is a lot stronger. You need to go out and play. Fair play, she's done that. She's pretty much dragged Tottenham out of any kind of relegation worries this season. And Nobbs, again, has gone into Villa and played very well for Villa. I do think that I was really surprised on Maya Le Tissier not being in, especially with the inclusion of Esme Morgan, because I think Maya is a better player than Esme Morgan, and I think she's more versatile than Morgan. I think Morgan's a good young player, but I don't think she's on the same level of Maya Le Tissier, if I'm honest. In terms of the surprise for me, and again, I wondered if it was going to be a case that they would take her because she can also play in the midfield, was Lucy Parker, because she's been in and around the Arnold Clark Cup squad. She's played a little bit for England. She's quite versatile. But I think she probably fell victim to the fact that Jess Carter is very, very versatile and also can play in multiple positions. Nim Charles is on a quest to play in every single position on the pitch. She's only got to tick off goalkeeper this season. And you also have people like Laura Coombs, who in a pinch, if you really need to, she will slot back into playing as sort of a defensive wide midfielder. So I think Parker was the other name I looked at as a surprise. Obviously, without Kirby and Mead and Ellen White all out the equation, I think the question now is who steps up to the mantle, because the thing White was really good at was just, finishing the chances. And both Mead and Kirby, I think, are the two players in the England setup who literally could score out of absolutely anything. I think it's to me, the real onus is on probably Ella Toone and I think on Lauren Hemp to step up and show us what they can, do in that regard. I will say on Hannah Blundell, I think she was unlucky to not be selected. Again, England have gone from having quite a weak fullback position to suddenly being quite well stacked in the area and having a lot of options. And I just think that it's probably a case that if Blundell maybe had got chances earlier, she'd had a chance, but Sarina was never suddenly going to call someone up as a surprise.
No, you make some fair points there. I mean, Meg, for yourself, what would you make on? I know you were very shocked not to see Le Tissier in there, but what was your thoughts on the squad itself?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was there at the announcement, and I think the whole room kind of went a bit quiet for about 2 minutes when they realised that Le Tissier's name was not in there, because I think everyone just thought it was a given, and I certainly did as well. As Rob said, I think she's a better player than Esme Morgan. I didn't think Esme Morgan was going to get the call up, but here we are. I also thought Nikita Parris was unlucky, as Barry said, to miss out. Didn't think that Katie Robinson was going to get the call up. I think Parris has had a pretty good season. Obviously, you United fans weren't sure of the signing last summer, but it's worked out pretty well for her, and I thought she deserved the call up. So obviously that's a shame for her. Obviously, Bethany England being in there is, just so happy for her. I think, she completely deserves it. She's single-handedly kind of kept Spurs up. So, and I was there sat next to Nancy, and she was, she was a bit nervous to begin with, but once she saw that name, it was all good. So, but no, Jordan Nobbs thoroughly deserved as well. And obviously, I think that midfield's kind of been a bit depleted. So there were quite a few different names that people kind of thought. Obviously, Jess Park could have been named in there, Lucy Parker. So no, I think overall, obviously, we've kind of got the core from last season, from the Euros. Sorry, obviously, no Leah, no Beth, no Fran, but apart from that, we've kind of got those core players. So no, not any crazy omissions apart from Maya Le Tissier.
No, I think that's a fair assessment. Obviously, it's from a United point of view, it's good to see Zellum in there as well. After the season, she's had a lot of United fans. I mean, obviously been talking about her potentially her best season in a United shirt, so that was good to see as well. I know the family are really pleased for that one as well. So that's good to see. And obviously Russo and Toon and Herbs are always going to be in that squad as well. So we shall see how it pans out over the summer. As Jennifer said, you can't pick everybody. Somebody's going to miss out, but I think 98% of Twitter thinks the wrong defender missed out. That's for sure. Right, speaking of missing out and people disagreeing and all those kinds of things, let's get to the team of the season then, because this is, if anyone saw our team of the year one we did at the end of 22, there was a lot of debate and a lot of position moving and all kinds of things to get players in. Now, we have agreed on 5 players. Only 3 of them we've agreed on the positions. So I will share my screen to bring this on. So the 3 players you can see that are in: Frida Marnham in midfield, Ona obviously at right back, Letitia at right centre back. They're the players that are in, that are confirmed. We have got 2 other players, pretty obvious, that all 5 of us have voted for, but we're going to have to do some position modifying or put them in their right positions and persuade the others that that is their right position to try and put some players around. So,
jiggery pokery.
Exactly that. So obviously get your comments in as we go through these. We may as well start at the back. You'll notice that player 1 is empty. Now, I think everyone, this being a United channel, Barry's always with this being a United channel, I think everyone would have assumed Earps is a shoo-in for this one. And to be fair, it is a 3-2 vote split in favour of Earps. I can see Barry's ready to go. I'll come back to Earps in a second, but for the counter argument, I'm not going to give mine first because I am the other one who didn't go for Earps. Rob, why not Earps, and who did you go for goalkeeper?
Right, I will say Earps had a phenomenal season, and I want to make that very, very clear. But even if Earps had been a different goalkeeper, United would have still been up and around the top of the table because of the fact the defence has been very strong and they've been very strong structurally. If Leicester had not had Janina Leipzig from January, or from the end of January, when Leipzig came in, they were bottom of the league. I think they had, at the time of her coming in, they had 1 point and they were on something like minus 33. If they don't bring Leipzig in, they go down. Leipzig, for me, should have been Young Player of the Year. She should have won that. I didn't agree with Lauren James winning that. I think it should have gone to Leipzig because I think she's still, she's 23, 24. She technically still qualifies in it. I mean, Young Player of the Year is a stupid award anyway. But I think, when she played Arsenal, as Meg will attest, she was the main reason why Arsenal did not absolutely wallop them at the end of the season. It took a Frida Marnham howitzer. When she played against Chelsea at Kings Meadow, she was completely left exposed. And to be honest, if she hadn't been there, Chelsea could have put 10 in that night, such as they were that ferocious. I know how she played towards the end of the season, especially in the key games. Even on the final day of the season, she's just been phenomenal. And I think far too often we have a habit of just looking around the top 4 when it comes to team of the seasons and things like that. And I think that Leipzig is, Leipzig, if Leicester didn't have Leipzig, they go down. And that's my, I will die on that hill. I think Earps had a good season, but I do think, especially towards the end of the season, errors started to creep in. And that is the big thing, whereas Leipzig, I think, stepped up in those key moments.
No, I mean, a lot of the comments are agreeing with you. I want to try and keep our kind of points brief. But Mia, I'll come to yourself, and then Meg, Barry, just following afterwards with your Earps shouts. So obviously, I don't think any United fans going to disagree on Earps. I don't, even though I've not picked her, just to put that out there. But Mia, you start off on this one. Then I said Meg, Barry, following off the back of it. Why Mary Earps for this one?
I think for me, it was an absolute no-brainer. There was no thought in it at all. She's been unbelievable season. She's won awards. She's broken records. She has. I don't want to say she fell towards the end of the season because she was strong, but I do understand where Rob's coming from there. But I just think if we're calling the season as a whole, she's been very good. She's been a leader at the back for United. And she has made some crucial saves. And as I say, she's broken some records this year and won the best prize a goalkeeper can win in Europe. So, yeah, it was a no-brainer for me.
I think you and
Barry got the memo. Didn't know whether they were just going to follow in. Meg or Barry, one of you go for it.
Meg, you go for it because I'm afraid I'm going to blow up.
I think I'd just pretty much what Mia said. I think obviously the award she's won kind of speak for themselves with the Golden Glove. Is it 14 clean sheets or something like that? I think that's pretty incredible. I think she's also very crucial, to the way how United play out from the back, her ability on the ball. Obviously, yeah, she's, made her mistakes. And I do agree with what Rob said about Leipzig, that, she's probably really helped keep Leicester up. But, the season didn't start in January, Rob. So that's why I think overall,
But I would, my counter to that would be is that you don't win the Golden Glove just by being a good goalkeeper. You win it by having a top defence in front of you as well. And that's why United have, you don't. It's not as if every single game you've looked at it and it's been like United's defence have been terrible and it's been Earps making countless saves. There have been a lot of games she's had very little to do because the defence have done it for her. Whereas Leipzig, I think, has already made, even though she was here for half a season, she made the most saves in the WSL because of the fact she was so overworked.
Right. Ding, ding. Round 5. So, first of all, I have to put on record my absolute displeasure at the fact that you've allowed yourself to be absolutely coerced into this line of thinking, Connor. It's outrageous. A free-thinking man like yourself who can eat a burger with a knife and fork should be capable of rational thought to not be seduced into this type of just disgracefulness. Listen, Leipzig is a good goalkeeper. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But what you were trying to tell me last night, honestly, I didn't sleep. I just didn't, because just the level of rubbish you were coming at me with. You tried to do it what Dan does on the men's channel, constantly
Also known as stats.
So I've had a little look at the stats, because the stats do not make up the man. So I've had a look at those, or the woman in this case. Now, let me be incredibly clear. You are talking about a Mary Earps who was nowhere to be seen on the international circuit and had been basically displaced for some time. She's not only got herself back into it at the back end of last season, she became England's number 1. And indeed, not only a European Championship winner, but she had the best moves of the entire team by jumping on the table and nearly taking out Serena Wiegmann and a water bottle. So that in itself could have got her picked. But she didn't just do that. She went out there and marshalled, because Rob is right. You do have to have a good defence, but you've also got to have someone behind them that marshals them, organises them, tells them where to be. Mary Earps does that. She leads. Her impact on the entire team is noticeable when she's not there. When she's not there, you go out of the Conti Cup. Just saying, right? So this is the situation you have with someone like a Mary Earps. I cannot believe I'm having to put a passion debate forward for the person who was named, the goalkeeper of the year in the world. But we're not going to stick her straight in the goalkeeper because, she saved Leicester from relegation. What is this?
Okay,
anyway,
just very quickly, Barry. If you're going to go off the best award, that means Sam Kerr must be in your team then, because she won the Brightest Player of the Year.
Listen, that is one thing, and we'll get to why Sam Kerr's not in my team shortly.
Just saying.
And I'll also point out that I remember when we did the best of 2022, vehemently I was told Ann-Katrin Berger couldn't be in there despite the fact she'd won the best award because Zinsberger had been a better player over the calendar year. So, these awards are complete nonsense. Otherwise, you are agreeing that Lauren James was the best young player in the league this season and vehemently, deserve that. You're agreeing Emma Hayes should be manager of the season as well. So,
I don't agree with that. But I also don't agree with Connor's stats. So let me throw through the ones that throw his into the mud. He talks about goals and saves. Listen, the simple fact is she conceded 12 goals this season, and your mate who came in January conceded 23. So she's conceding half a goal a game, whereas your mate is conceding 1.8, nearly 2. That would have cost us the top 4. But let that not debate you. We'll move on a little bit to the saves, shall we? Yes, your one made 66 saves. Bloody marvellous. Of course she did. She's playing for Leicester. They probably had about 500 shots against them in every other game except for ours, because we only won 1-0. And she weren't playing at that point, I don't think. Anyway, that was 5 saves a game she's making. Mary Earps is making 2. And I wagered that if she was in goal for Leicester, she'd have kept them up too. But the biggest one, your mate, shot save percentage, 74.2%. Mary Earps, 79.3. Rob Pratley said he would die on that hill. I presume your middle name is Ian. R.I.P. Rob. Earps in at number 1. Bosh. Done. Yeah.
So all I've learned in those stats is you said to me Leipzig has a better save stat, has a 5% worse save percentage in a team that's worse, and only conceded, I think, was it 10 more goals? Okay, yeah, that's fine by me.
That just
I'm
enough
not
for
gonna
that, Barry.
get into
That's
that.
enough for
Can I just say in the intro? Can we move this on? Because I'm worried this is just going to turn into 2 hour Earps.
I just
I don't have any party rings, so I can't.
Yeah, I mean, can I also please tell me you've clipped that, because that's one of the
honestly,
there's background music and stuff go into that. I'm putting all-time editing on that one.
Titanic. Enough for that.
that Ian middle named it. That was fantastic.
Up there with
God.
the speech in 300. That this is Sparta speech.
You'll be pleased to know I'm not so passionate about the others. I'm fine now.
That's why I started.
That's reassuring. I was going to have to get the blood pressure monitor.
I just need to see Earps written at number 1 and normal
Right.
sounds.
Do you want to put it? You have to bear in mind my keyboard's a bit dodgy, so if there's some spelling mistakes, that's what happens. So Earps goes in. Like I said, it was between her and Leipzig. As you said, they're the only 2 people that got voted for. But yeah, I don't think we're going to argue too much for that. That's 3 United in already. Now, should have said this at the start. Actually, we did have a rule that you can't have more than 4 from one club. Nobody has done that. We don't have that same issue as we had in the end of 22 show, where we were the 3 club rule max and all that stuff. So we've gone for 4, but nobody went over that anyway, so it's fine. The other centre back position, and let's move it on to that one. So we've got how many? Let me just have a look. 1, 2. We've got 3 names. And we've got 1 position to put in. So, Mia, I'll come to you first, because you've gone for another United. So if you manage to persuade all 4 of us here, we've got 4 United in the back 5
I already
so far.
know I'm not going to be able to do this. After watching what's just happened there, there's no way this player's going to make this back line. But I did choose, and this is not a surprise for me. I chose Millie Turner. And here's why. I'm based on the fact that I picked Batlle, Earps, and Laetitia. Those 4 this season working together in that back line have been unbelievable. Now, I know Millie Turner isn't the best and the cleanest defender in the world. There's been a couple of times this season some things have happened because of not fantastic defending. But this is something I'm going to die on this hill as well. Everyone knows this as well. She is the best passer in the WSL. Accuracy-wise, she's the best passer. And I get told a lot that it's because she passes sideways to Laetitia or back to Earps. Rubbish. Her long passing stats are fantastic. We praise Laetitia a lot, and rightfully so. Absolutely rightfully so. But I think that Turner is hugely underrated. And I was speaking to Connor about this earlier, but I'm going to say it. The Lionesses tax pays dividends. Earps is in there. Laetitia is in there. There we go.
It's hard to argue with that. Particularly, I'm sure there's some United fans in the comments that will back that one up. I'll come to who else voted for. Sorry, I should have the sheet in front of me. So, Rob, I'll come to you and then follow on with Barry, because you both went for Millie Bright. So I'll come to you 2 on that one. Rob, why Millie Bright along that back line?
I mean, firstly, someone did ask which team I support, so I feel like I have to get it in there. I support the current champions of the WSL, the 4 in a row champions, the 3-time in a row winners of the FA Cup. Now I've got that out of my system.
Is it possibly the team you're wearing the shirt for?
Yes. Funnily enough, it is the team I'm wearing the shirt for. I know it's a real shock. Everyone would have thought Leicester by now. I mean, the right colour, but the wrong badge. Millie Bright's just phenomenal. I mean, to be honest, the other shout for this position, again, this is one I won't necessarily fight for, because the other shout in the position I think is a phenomenal player. And like originally, when I was talking about and you were saying you could have players outside of their position, I was going to put Maya Laetitia and shoehorn her in at left fullback so I could put the other player in. But Millie Bright is phenomenal. She leads, she scores goals. Her passing has really improved in the last 12 months. She's just dominant in the air. we've massively missed her in the last few weeks of the season, even if you necessarily haven't realised it due to the fact Mjelde and Eriksson have stepped up. There have been situations where we've looked all at sea, especially from set pieces. And yeah, I think, you know, there's a reason she's going to captain the Lionesses this summer. Again, Neil, I love you too, Neil. Don't worry, I love you too. I think, you know, she's just a great player. That said, again, the other name for this selection, I'd have no qualms putting them in because I think they're also a great player.
Yeah, I mean, Barry, you also went for Millie Bright before me and Meg say who we went for. I think it's going to be pretty obvious who we went for as well. But why did you go for Millie Bright in that back line?
I mean, I know this is going to come as a shock, Connor, but when I was looking at my research, I kind of went for which two teams had the best defence in the league this season. And the answer to that question was Manchester United and Chelsea. Now, whilst we were debating how we were going to set the rules for this particular soiree, I distinctly remember telling you that we needed to go to 4 players rather than 3 to try and stop the outrageous, disgraceful scenes of the last time we tried to do this, shoehorning people in. But I also remember telling you that my passionate argument really for Manchester United this season was that our defence, the entire back four and Mary Earps, are the defence of the year. For me, that the improvement they've shown, the way in which it's gone, I don't think anyone, even Rob, could really argue if all 5 of those names were Manchester United players. The other places, I think, are massively up for grabs. And I say that thinking about people like Toon. I know that Meg's going to mention a couple of players that play north of the defence that will potentially have a chance of making the team. But for me, my argument is simply that. It's that it had to be the Man United team. My problem was, where do I go? Do I go for left back, Hannah Blundell, or do I go for centre back, Millie Turner? And the answer to that question, which ruins your next part of the question for me, was Hannah Blundell, because I think she's had a fabulous season. The players have noticed that. She's done brilliantly. So because of your 4-person rule, our 4-person rule, I had to put Blundell at left back. So then I had to go, well, which defender's going to take Millie Turner's spot? And I thought about it. Leah Williamson was top of the list at one point, very much for the same sort of reasons that Mia mentioned. She's right about Millie Turner. Her distribution stats are superb. Her passing is excellent. And really, if I'm honest, it comes down to a couple of mistakes that I saw through the season that made me put Blundell first, literally about 2. So that's the main reason. Millie Bright is an absolute machine. We had this conversation the last time we did this. And if I was going to pick any person to replace Millie Turner from the WSL, she's the one I would pick. So for that reason, there she is. So for me, it was a no-brainer. Stick Millie Bright in there. I know you're going to go for somebody different, but that's absolutely fine because it's not a Mary Earps discussion. So much more rational now.
I mean, Meg, obviously a lot of the comments are saying the 2 that we went for. Charlie's saying it as well. Obviously Rafa from Arsenal. So if you want to put the Rafa case forward, because this is going to be a 2 each split, and Mia, you're going to have the deciding vote, I think, along with the comments on this one, because it is going to be 2 all between Bright and Rafa for that other centre back position. But Meg, if you want to put you're probably better suited than me to put the Arsenal case forward for her.
I mean, look, we've had so many different centre-back combinations this season. I probably can't even count because of the amount of injuries we've had. But, I mean, obviously, Rafa was out for a bit, at the start of the season. But, I mean, every time she has the ball, she's just so calm with it. She's not going to make any mistakes. She can do the little, the flicks, the tricks when she wants to. But she can also, like, 1 minute she'll be, in defence, but then the next minute she will have driven the ball up, into the final third. And I just think she is going to be such a massive miss for us now she's going. And I just think, obviously with the injuries we've had, but Rafa is just, and she's such a leader as well. I can, if she stayed at the club for, a longer period of time, I could totally see her captaining the side. But yeah, I mean, she's her aerial threat as well. I'll always remember her goal against Spurs earlier at the start of the season. I just think she's been an absolute real credit to the side, and I think she deserves a spot in there.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Up until like the last couple of games, I'm pretty sure it's the last couple of games that cost you the better defence over Chelsea in the end. all season. She is just, to me, I've said this from the start. It was my controversial opinion that she's a better defender than Leah Williamson, but Leah Williamson gets the praise because of being Lionesses captain and everything else that comes with it. And Rafa kind of goes under the radar a little bit.
I'd agree with you on that.
She's on the way out. She's not coming to United.
And I think the other reason I didn't go for Williamson on that one was purely because I think May Letitia does the playing the ball out bit quite well. I think you need that bit of grit in the defence, and Millie Bright's going to give you that.
Mia, what do you reckon then? That centre back's what you've heard a couple of cases there, or are you going to stand by Millie Turner and try and convince us that Turner should be in there? Either or.
Listen, my hopes got a bit higher when Barry mentioned her, but no, I think you all of you put a really great cases forward. I'm going to vote for Rafa because I think she has it all. She's strong. She's fantastic with the ball. She's Brazilian. She's got that Brazilian technique, and yeah, she's a really, really tough one though. Really, really tough one.
Certainly a close one to put in. This midfield debate is going to be horrendous when we get there. So I'm dreading that one. I mean, do I want to bring this comment up? I don't know whether Meg's going to get triggered or not.
Before we do the midfield debate, do we want to sort out? Before we do the before Meg explodes in a manner that will make Barry proud, do we want to sort out the two other players that everyone has in and the positions they go in? Because I think that also impacts the midfield debate, and that then potentially means that you'll have to.
I think we will do. I think looking at that comment there, Millie 600 or someone who's not in. It's not based on past seasons though. You can't just if that's the case, then you're talking about other players that have won the league in past seasons. Nikita Paris, you could argue for her case because of what she's won previously as well. It's not based.
I will say
or at least most of us anyway.
I mean, either Bright or Rafaela, I think you can make very strong arguments for. I think it's one where I've sat through various discussions this week and I've had various people pick either of them, and I've said, yeah, that's fair.
So Rob mentioned the players. So obviously we had Ona, Letitia, and Marnham in from the start. I will come back to why we've chosen those a bit later on, actually, if there's a bit of time towards the end. The other two players that we all voted for, and the reason they're not on screen is because we couldn't work out positions. So I'll start with the first one, Guro Reiten. We all went for her. Two people, I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Meg and Mia had Reiten in midfield. So that's the first one we got to try and put into this team somewhere, because I said voted by us all. And Rachel Daly is the other one voted by us all. Three of us have put her at striker. The other two, I think Rob and Meg, you've put her on the right wing. And you will see why as we go through the team as to why people have put Daly out wide and why Reiten's in midfield. We're trying to fit everybody in, is what we're trying to do here. So open to the floor then. Let's start with Reiten. Where are we going to put her? Because we know she's on the left. That's where she plays. That's her best position. But are we going to be kicking somebody else out?
Well, does she play in midfield at all?
No.
So then that's the answer to your question. She has to go.
If
you get the president to put her in the middle now, then I'm going. That's madness. Why are we putting a player in a place they don't play?
I was going to say, I appreciate certainly against Arsenal, Reiten spent that home game at Kings Meadow. Reiten probably played in the midfield because the entire game was played in your half. So Reiten probably did play central midfield that game. But she's, if you look at her heat map, it's basically just anywhere down the left-hand side, and she does occasionally cut inside, but the majority of it has been on the touchline on the wing. There's no way on earth I will accept any team of the season that doesn't have Reiten in on the left wing. She was my pick for player of the year. She should have won the club player of the year. She should have won the athletics player of the year, in my opinion. She's been the best left winger in the league. And again, I don't say that lightly because I think Galton's had a phenomenal season. And I said this when I was on doing the United Chelsea preview. I think she's desperately unlucky to be in the same position Reiten's in because Reiten's just been so phenomenal.
So if the best way to do it, so Meg and Mia, I'll come to you because obviously if we're putting Reiten left wing, that then moves your current left winger that you chose out of that position. So I'm just trying to work out who Meg, I'll start with yourself. So you put Galton on the left. Obviously, like I said, that you didn't not put Reiten in your team. You tried to get her in, but you put Galton on the left. So what? Well, I don't really know what the question is really. What do you reckon to that? And can we shoehorn in somewhere, or are you going to have to accept defeat on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be like crying if I don't include Galton. I just thought she's had an incredible season. Obviously, is it 10 goals in the league? Obviously there's been a lot of standout United players as we've already seen. We've got quite a few in there, but I just think attacking wise, she's been probably your best attacker this season. And obviously, I'd like to put her in there, but as Rob said, Reiten does play on the wing, and she doesn't play in midfield. So I would happily kind of move her somewhere. So, but if that means leaving Leah out, then I'll do that. I just think obviously Reiten's a given. She's so mesmerizing to watch. I love her so much.
I mean, and Mia, for yourself, obviously on that left wing, you went for a different player, which, to be fair, when I saw this, I was like, oh, okay, and not against it, because, again, a phenomenal player who's had a good season. But do you want to put your case forward for left wing again? I would say you didn't not put Reiten in. Reiten is in your team, but obviously in a different position.
Yeah, so again, I put Reiten in midfield because I wanted to squeeze more players up front. I wanted to put more attacking players in. So I had, I mean, this is all mixed up, but so I chose Caitlin Ford on one side, and this is a bit of a rogue choice. I'm fully aware, but a lot of this is like it comes with the context of the fact that Arsenal have had a lot of injuries in that attacking third. People have had to step up big time to make sure that they challenge for Champions League football again. And Caitlin Ford was one of those people. And when you get, I think she got 6 goals and 6 assists in 19 games because she was injured for a period of time. And without Beth Mead and without Miedemar to pull up those sorts of statistics, and this is no disrespect to like Stina Blackstenius or anything like that, but it's, oh yes. Yeah, I just think that when you look at the context behind it and all of the stuff that Arsenal have had to go through this season, and they've still, managed to secure that Champions League football, she's played a huge part in it. She's brilliant to watch. I wrote a feature about her a couple of weeks ago, and looking through all of her footage is just, she's so good, and she's going to absolutely, mark my words, tear up the World Cup.
I mean, it's a fair shout. As Charlie, I just put the comment on screen there saying, what a shout. Rob, obviously, I know you're a big fan as well. Potentially, could we put her in on the right? Maybe? Or I know it's another out of position. It depends who we've all gone for the right, because that's getting into a whole other conversation.
Yeah, I mean,
put
like,
Daly out there, but
like my opinion on Caitlin Ford. I've said numerous times. I think she's probably, like, if I was doing an underrated 11 in the WSL, she'd be, one of the first names on the team sheet. I think she's brilliant. I think probably she should have played more for Arsenal in the last few years. At times, she's been overlooked by the fact they've had Miedemar and Mead and Ford. Like, the other thing with Ford that doesn't go noticed is the amount of work she does off the ball. Like, the amount of tracking back, the amount of defensive work she does. Again, I'll use that game at Kings Meadow as an example. In the first half of that, Ford pretty much was constantly spending the time back stopping Lauren James from getting forward. And that in turn meant Lauren James wasn't really getting many chances on the ball. On the other side, you had Catherine Cool, who's a little less experienced, and she was staying forward, and it was giving Reiten all of this space to operate in. I mean, I would, again, if the right situation came, I'd be happy to put Ford on the right wing. But I also then think it reads a real debate about the other two players, because I think...
Should we just get one thing nailed in? Because I'm conscious that we've still got a lot of players missing. Are we definitely putting Reiten on the left wing?
She's got to be. She's got to be. Out of all of her stats, the one that stands out the most is the fact that she scored 20, not scored 20, but had 20 goals and assists altogether in the WSL, which was the third highest. She was behind Shaw and Daly with that. So Leah Galton, much as we love her, and as good as she has been, got 14. which is the same as Chloe Kelly. And I don't see anybody advocating at this moment in time, although they might, for Chloe Kelly to be getting into the team of the year. So, yeah, I think it's got to be, hasn't it? Guro Reiten, at the end of the day, that's her position. It's where she plays. So the argument is it's either she goes there or she doesn't go in the team at all. And in a world that I didn't think I would be in on this particular day, I completely agree with Rob. I can't accept a team of the year that doesn't have Guro Reiten at left wing. It would be an utter madness. It would almost be as bad, Connor, as having a team of the year that didn't have Mary Apps in goal. Could you imagine such a world?
Well, I can actually.
You can.
So the other player, obviously, like I said, they've got 5 votes, Rachel Daly. So obviously, most people would assume we're putting her up front. Now, if we're doing that and we're saying we cannot put players out of position, that means Bunny Shaw won't make the team. Which how many? Let me check how many votes. So Shaw got 2 votes. Daly obviously got 5, so she has to be in at some point.
Mhm.
What are we going to do with this situation with Rachel Daly then? I said she's going in either as 11 or 10, and then
Who's
it's
the other forwards that people pick besides Bunny Shaw then?
So forwards wise, so obviously Reiten, Daly, Galton, Hemp, Ford, and Shaw were the names that we had for forwards. But there is also shouts for Kirsty Hansen, one of them in midfield, other 2 at right wing as well. So we've got Hansen to throw into that mix for those 2 positions as well.
It's tight. For me, Daly scored 22 goals. That's a goal a game. That is a horrendously good result. She was unlucky not to make the team of the year last season, Connor. She's got to be in this one, and it has to be.
Oh, she's in. It's whether it's 11 or 10.
I think there's no debate where she plays.
Has she played as a 10? You have an Aston Villa fan. Did she play as a 10 at any point in the season?
No, it's what I'm saying is if we're saying we can't, if we're saying we can't move players out of position, we're leaving Bunny Shaw out. And I think that's a little bit harsh for someone who's had 20, who's actually had more goals and assists than Daly this season.
Can I make us something of a bit of a maverick suggestion? Okay. Put Reiten in behind the strikers in a 10 role because she actually does play as a 10 as well for Chelsea, as well as on the left. And then you have 2 strikers. Because I think it's harsh to not have Bunny Shaw in, considering that City wouldn't be anywhere near the top of the league without Bunny Shaw being present.
Well, like I said,
I don't think enough numbers. We've had the rest of the team. Otherwise, we require this.
Well, this I'm kind of incorporating all of it because, like I said, Hansen's also got 3 votes out of the 5 of us. So Hansen's in the conversation.
Could I just say that the comment with Daly's an attacking defender? So you say put Daly left backs returned.
I mean, left back is, as Joe said there, I can't leave McCabe. I've had to put a left back. There's 4 votes for McCabe at left back. I've left that just so Barry can put his Blundell case forward in a bit. But McCabe is likely going to go in at player 4, so we're not going to look at that just yet. But 11 and 10, so like I said, we've got those players to choose from. But if you're saying, what you're saying, Rob, is move Reiten in, like move 8 upwards and have 2 strikers. Is that what you're saying? Or put Reiten in behind and move?
Put Reiten in literally in the number 10 role because I've seen her play in the number 10 and then you have 2 strikers. Because I personally, again, I'd be curious to hear the arguments for Hemp and stuff, but I don't necessarily think Hemp has had a season on the same level that she can do. The other winger option, like anyone who wants to make a case for any other arguments, but I think that it's harsh to. I appreciate it is a United channel, and obviously you hate Manchester City, and valid. But I think that you've got to take partisan rivalry out of this and say, would City have done anything relevant this season without Bunny Shaw? And the answer is no.
Okay. So next question then, as an avid Chelsea fan and also a man of integrity, do you think Guro Reiten gets 20 goals and assists if she's in that 10 position as opposed to where she was on the left?
Yeah, because a lot of her goals and assists, I've seen her do it the year before from the 10 position. She spent a lot of time this year in the 10 position because we didn't have Pernilla Harder.
I mean,
I'm not convinced, Connor.
I don't want to leave Hansen out, but at the same time, I don't want to leave Shaw out. Come on, me and Meg, come on, one of you. One of you shout up your options here and help us out.
I don't want to leave. I've put Hansen and Shaw in, so I don't want to leave either of them out. God, it's like, yes, Rachel Daly got the golden boot, but it was only was it the last few games of the season where it was, a lot of people. I think when I came on the last show that we did, was it a couple of months ago, and we all said who we thought was going to get the Golden Boot, and we all said Bunny Shaw, and so you can't not put her in there, and her her all round athleticism, her aerial ability, it's we don't have another striker like that in the WSL. I think she's got to go in there.
Go on, Mia, what do you reckon?
I was just going to say I'm the person that chose Hemp anyway, so I think. Do you know what? This is again me trying to cram players in to the attacking. I thought Shaw was going to be a given, so I vote Rachel Daly, but I also thought that Shaw was going to be overwhelmingly chosen. And Rob, you're absolutely right. Wood City have got they haven't had a brilliant season, but Bunny Shaw absolutely pulled them out of a bad place. But to watch Lauren Hemp, and she's got a lot of assists this year. I didn't write down a number, but she's done a lot of assists this year. Her movement, again, similar to Caitlin Ford off the ball. She's a workhorse. And I put her in over Chloe Kelly, just based on the fact that I think she's had a slightly better season. But yeah, I feel like I can't really have a say when everyone's chosen Bunny Shaw and I've gone for Lauren Hemp. But listen, I'm self-aware and I'm more than happy for Bunny Shaw to go in there. I also forgot Kirsty Hansen. So that's that.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that forgot Kirsty Hansen existed.
Completely. So I feel like I'll let you
know, I think the biggest problem with this entire game is that, apart from the fact that you're running it, Connor, is that the attackers always get the limelight. Like, in a minute, we're going to have an argument as to whether or not Hannah Blundell should go in or Katie McCabe. And I don't think anyone's going to make the idea that we take the number 6 away and put them in the midfield and put them in the defence and play a back 5. It won't happen. We're not going to have that conversation because everybody believes that you have 4 at the back or 3 at the back with 2 wing backs. And we're not going to have that conversation. But already we're starting to shoehorn people in just to get in a player who wasn't the best in her position. If you asked any fan who they would take now, would they take Shaw or Daly? On form, they'd take Daly. If they were looking to the future, yes, they'd take Shaw. But this isn't a team of people that we're looking for the future. We're not creating a master team here. We're not going to be playing this team next season and putting them out there like some sort of Harlem Globetrotters. We're just looking for the people that played the best in the position we're in. I can accept people arguing that Kirsty Hansen did all of her work on the left-hand side for Villa, so that's why she doesn't go onto the right wing. I can live with that. That's a fair argument. But the fact we're starting to move people around to tick 2 strikers up there, just so Bunny Shaw can be in there, when she wasn't, for me, the best striker out of all of them, I struggle.
Well, like I said, if you're going in off goals and assists, which is what you just said for Reiten, Shaw has more than Daly.
They don't. 27 each in WSL. Thank you very much. Fuck mob.
Oh, yeah, no, it does. I read that wrong, then I saw 21-7.
I wasn't ready.
Even, okay, well, my point still stands. They're dead even then. So how can we leave one of them
Daly
out?
scored more, and she scored 22 goals, which to me is more important for a striker that they're scoring the goals. Won a game. Imagine if we had that, we'd have won the league.
Well, I don't disagree. I put Daly in. I'm not disagreeing with you.
I'm not sure who it was who said it to me, but they said, yes, Rachel Daly scored all these goals, but there has been, games where she's not turned up sort of thing, and, a few games where she hasn't scored, and, but,
true.
Overall, she has won the Golden Boot. So, and without her, Villa wouldn't be in the position that they are. So,
I'm going to throw a real curveball in here on the fact that if you put them on the right, Sam Kerr spent a lot of the time playing on the right-hand side of Chelsea's attack in the last couple of months with Harder coming in. And she's got 12 goals and 5 assists. Well, the thing is, I would vehemently argue, and this is why I disagree, I think Kerr's had a really good season in all competitions, but I don't think she's had a good season in the WSL by the standards that I hold her to. And this is, I think, the question that you sort of have is, do you start debating, like, if there's a player that has, one exceptional year. And this is what took me off Lauren Hemp. Like, I think Hemp got 6 goals and 7 assists this year. To me, I associate Hemp as being at least a sort of 8 goals, 10 assist player due to the quality that she has. I think, to be honest, if you move right back outside and you put Daly in there, you can have a better debate about the right wing. And I think you could then legitimately make an argument maybe for Ford or Hemp or somewhere out there, or maybe even just shoehorn Hansen out there on the basis she could probably play on the right.
Well, she played on the right for United. That's why I think she can. I don't think, even though this season for Villa, yes, it was the left. It's not like she doesn't play on the right. She can play on the right as well. So it's not like we're shoehorning.
Were for the big teams, because Rachel Daly scored twice against us, and Bunny Shaw didn't get a sniff. Chelsea, did Daly score against you, or did Shaw score against you?
Daly scored 1 against us. I don't think Shaw scored against us, but I
answer the questions. We're talking about the big teams, so it's only us two that we need to care about. Sorry, but we'll ask you: did they score any against Arsenal?
Daly definitely did.
I think did Daly. I think
she scored.
Yeah, I know you tried to pretend the last day of the season didn't happen, but it did.
Yeah, that was erased from my mind a long time ago. That.
So if you use that as your metric, even if you're saying the same, she's done it in the bigger matches. So Daly goes in there. Move on, please.
Well, we're going to have this same debate with right wing because someone's going to be out of position.
But at least we've got Daly secured.
Because this kind of feeds into the midfield. Like I said, Hansen's got 3 votes, one of them being in midfield, because we were trying to push play. I think it was me who put... No, Meg, you put Hansen in midfield. And I don't disagree with you because I want Hansen in, but at the same time, the 3 that I've got in midfield, obviously Marnham being one of them, I don't want to drop any of them either. So,
has anybody else got Marnham? Is this one we can agree on?
Marnham's got all 5 have put Marnham in, so she stays because all 5.
I didn't see that. Thank you. Very small on my screen.
So Marnham's definitely in. When we're looking at midfielders, 3 went for Cuthbert, 2 went for Hasegawa, 2 went for Daly. And I said there's 1 vote for Hansen in midfield. So we've got a choice of those for midfield. And I said that will impact the right wing, I guess. Whether we're going to try and maybe a 4-2-3-1 and stick Hansen maybe we'll stick Reiten in the cam and stick Hansen on the left and play 2 midfielders. I don't know. That's something that could potentially work.
In the cam, God, someone's been playing a lot of FIFA, haven't they?
I don't know why I said it like that because I've not played FIFA for about 4 years.
Can we get Erin Cuthbert into the team? Because again,
absolutely,
this is another.
She should be number 6.
You say that she only got 3 votes.
Oh my goodness! See, Barry, you agreed on.
I didn't vote for her, but now I've accepted Leah Galton not being in that attacking position, and obviously Reiten's gone into that wing. I'll happily put Erin Cuthbert in that midfield as my now. Reiten's not goes in midfield. Erin Cuthbert was on my mind, to be fair.
Well, Mia, I'll throw it over to yourself because you also didn't put Cuthbert in, but again, off the basis that you had Reiten in your midfield 3 to accommodate for your forwards that you had in. So, would you accept Cuthbert in, or do you want to put another name in that midfield that potentially we haven't? Who else did you go for? I think you went for.
Oh, the grenade is in your hand, Mia.
I went for Kenza Daly, and I went for Kenza Daly because. Again, this is me trying to be a bit cohesive with the team we're making. Daly isn't as much of a threat without Kenza Daly or Kirsty Hansen. And that's a big statement. But playing in behind, I think Daly, because she played sort of defensive roles in the past, she tends to drift. So there's plenty of times this season where she's sort of dipped into more of a midfield role, and then Daly's straight away in front of her, and sort of they've got that good relationship. So yeah, I chose Daly because of her assists, her goals, her sort of work rate. She is another workhorse who does a lot of work off the ball, and yeah, vision, just her awareness of where Rachel Daly is. Has catapulted her this season.
I mean, I completely agree with everything that Mia's just said, which is why my other 2 players for midfield, I picked Marnham, but I picked Cuthbert and I picked Daly. So, let's just throw it out there. Is there any reason why we couldn't have those three?
I want Hasegawa in the team. That's why. And I'm pretty
Are
sure
you the only
Rob...
person who mentioned Hasegawa?
No. Rob
Oh.
also went for Hasegawa.
Oh,
Me and Rob have got the same midfield.
Take the lead.
So, Rob, me and you have actually picked the same midfield: Cuthbert, Hasegawa, and Marnham.
Yeah, I'm gonna. To be honest, Hasegawa, I think, has had a phenomenal season. But I do also potentially wonder if you're talking about it, potentially what you do is if you're adjusting the formation and you're putting people in, Daly can play that slightly further forward role, as could Marnham. I think it depends which one you want to do. Because if you put Daly in that forward role, I think you could put Marnham alongside Cuthbert. Or I think you could put Marnham in that forward role and put Hasegawa alongside Cuthbert. But I don't think you could put Hasegawa and Cuthbert in the same midfield because I think they occupy the same space. But where that completely contradicts what I originally did. I think she is, again, she's the metronome for City. When she's missing, they look so poor. I thought she was one of the better players in the derby against you at the end of the season. I thought she played, she was player of the match against Chelsea, just completely ran the show. I thought in that first half against Arsenal, she was phenomenal. And that the reason why Arsenal got back into that game was the fact they managed to shut her down and stop her dictating it. Erin Cuthbert, to me, again, is completely non-negotiable. Chelsea would not have won the league, would not have won the FA Cup, would not have advanced to the Champions League if Erin Cuthbert wasn't around. A lot of the games when Cuthbert wasn't fit or wasn't at her best, we had no bite in the midfield. She started to add goals to her game towards the end of the season and chipped in with some really key ones. Her passing ability is always constantly underrated. Yeah, she's just brilliant. That's one of the, as not everyone said, because I think if you ask Chelsea fans who their most important player is, you'll get an answer of Kerr or Cuthbert.
How are we going to unlock this thing? Because I think 6, 8, and 10 go hand in hand here because it's whatever we... Got a simple... What's this coming here? Go a simple midfield, Pascal, Marnham, attack should be Reiten, Hansen, Daly. But Barry's not a fan of shoehorning. We're putting putting Hansen out of position, technically. If you're going off this season.
Whoa. Excuse me, what you said about shoehorning? Where did Kirsty Hansen play for Manchester United?
Was that this season?
Hang on a second. Who said you have to have played there in that season?
So what I'm hearing is Rachel Daly's going to that player 4.
Well, she could indeed go in at left back. But, listen, I've already said you could argue that you wouldn't put Kirsty Hansen on the right because she's done her work this season on the left. I already said that, so I've recused myself from this argument you're trying to throw at me. However, when I was picking my team, I worked on the theory that we hadn't sorted that out yet because we hadn't had all the terms and conditions fully laid out, you see. But now they are. I agree with you. Put your like on the right wing. I might throw a curveball in a minute. You never know. Nikita Paris, anyone? Gosh, who goes?
Well, should we put it to a vote between the five of them? Because it's an odd number, so we're going to... there will be a winner regardless. Number 6, are we all going to say Cuthbert or Daly, or are we going to put both of them in? What's the
I would go
shout
both.
for? So you're saying both?
You'll go with me. So that's 2 for both.
I'll happily go both. I do think Daly. I went to Villa West Ham at the very early in the season when there was the whole kicking off with Sissoko, but Daly completely ran that midfield and she just, kept the tempo of the game. So I'll happily have her in there.
Rob, I don't know. I'm a bit torn here. I'm trying to see if is there anyone else that.
So from Elvis and Ashley and Bruglia.
No, to be honest, I think any 2 of Daly, Cuthbert, and Hasegawa, there's a strong argument for. I'd be happy then. Again, it's similar to Rafaela at the back. I'm happy for any of them, any pair of them, I think, to go in as long as one of the pair is Cuthbert. Because I think Cuthbert, there's enough of body of evidence, but for the other player, I think you could put Daly in. I think Hasegawa could go in. Yeah, I think either of them would be suitable.
Is there no shout? There was a comment a bit further on. Barry, I'm going to look at you for this. No shouts for Zellum or Ladd in this midfield?
There was a mention about Ladd and Zellum. It was mentioned by Jonathan Bull, and here it is for you, Connor. Sorry, Mia. Interested, no lad or Zellum from the second place team, which is something I would argue, but it does come down to what I mentioned to Jennifer, which is, as much as I do take the mickey out of Connor, absolutely, the whole purpose of these shows is to have a debate and a laugh and a joke at the same time, whilst hopefully coming up with what is a decent WSL side. And if he allowed me to come on a show with no rule for the limit of the number of people we would have, I'd be picking Man United players all day long because I'm biased and that's how it works. And Rob will pick all the Chelsea players and Meg will pick all the Arsenal players. Connor will just pick whichever player he feels like is going to wind people up the most. And Mia apparently is going to go for some sort of fantasy 11 that nobody else has heard of either. So it would have been a very interesting one that nobody ever agreed on. So we had to have some rules. Rules make the world go round. They are the rules. So there we go. Hence, I couldn't have Zellum and Nad because I stand by my argument. If you're going to stand up for Man United for something, it's the back five. The back five have been phenomenal this season, and I don't think many people can argue with that.
No, it's yeah. I'm going to lose this battle, I think, as well with Hasegawa because Don's agreeing there. Hasegawa, Cuthbert, and Marnham. I agree, but the majority says Daly, so I think it's going to have to be Cuthbert and Daly. Which way around are we going? Cuthbert in the 6, Daly in the 8? Is that the way around we're doing it here?
Yeah, I mean, that seems like the logical one because I think Cuthbert's more liked to play in the 6, but she can play as an 8 as well. But Daly is more that attacking one of the two midfielders.
Well, I don't feel that it would be shoehorning if Daly was next to Cuthbert and Marnham was in front, would it?
No, not necessarily. I mean, if you're rearranging I think you could put Marnham in that sort of 10 role as per se.
So we've got 2 positions left. Like I said, left back, there was 4 votes McKay, but right wing, this is going to be an open debate now because nobody, unless we put Hansen out there, nobody else has really put, I know Mia, you've put your Hemp case forward, Ford maybe.
Can I throw another complete random name into the pit mix that is like based on the fact of what they've done and what their team looks like without them? In Jess Park.
Oh, okay.
Because Park, when Everton had Jess Park, they looked like a cohesive, useful attacking unit. When they didn't have Jess Park, they started then just like being unable to hold the ball up, having any kind of attack at all, and that led to them getting walloped against, Chelsea and Arsenal. And Katie Robinson's actually another not bad shout, to be honest, because like Robinson.
I'm not having Katie Robinson do it twice in a row over Paris. Has she not had a bad enough day?
Well, I'm thinking in retrospect, like in terms of like the perspective for what I'd expect from the player. This is why Lauren Hemp. I think if you're talking about best players in the WSL and you're talking about just right wing, that's between Mead and Lauren Hemp by far. But obviously Mead's injured, and Lauren Hemp I think has had a poor season. So
as a real random rogue curveball, can we not just put Beth England on the right because she basically plays across that whole front line for Spurs without all for the rest of the team? Anyway, she basically covers that whole front 3 on her own.
We've already established that players that have had a good half a season aren't important in this equation. We've already Barry has spoken in this equation. It doesn't matter if you turned into Zidane since Christmas. If you didn't do anything in the first half of the season, then
you can tell I've been promoted, Rob, because I'm having some sway now. Didn't have this last time.
Exactly.
I mean, Mia, obviously you put the Hemp case forward. There's a couple of comments saying Chloe Kelly. What would you reckon on who would you want to see out on that right?
So Chloe Kelly was actually my first choice, and then I changed it to Lauren Hemp. And as I say, that was a tough decision. I just thought, I watched City recently, and the way Lauren Hemp plays is just it's amazing. But I do agree overall. But I'm absolutely shooting myself in the foot. Probably Chloe Kelly's had an overall better season than Lauren Hemp. So if that's an option, I would absolutely agree with that for her to go out there. She's been electric.
So I don't know. I don't even know who I want now because Kelly's a good shout. Hansen, I just feel has to be in, but I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable. The team that didn't finish in the top 4 are going to have more players in this side. Well, equal with United.
Underestimate what they did, though. I mean, you take a look at it, and in the nicest possible way, and again, you might want to cover your ears, Meg, but United have potentially got more players in there because they perform better than most people probably expected them to do. If you're City or Arsenal, I don't really think you're sitting there looking at this season and going, wow, that's been incredibly successful. Whereas if you're Aston Villa, you do. And I think that's the main difference, is that what Villa did this season was incredible. You know, the sort of numbers they're posting and the things that they did, I don't think you can really argue that. And I think that's the big difference, is that actually the reason why there's not many City players is because actually they've been shocking compared to their usual standards, whereas Aston Villa have been very good compared to their usual standards.
Look, I think with the amount of injuries we've had to get Champions League, I'll happily take that. And to get to the semi-final and take Wolfsburg literally to the end of the game toe-to-toe, I will happily take that. Happily.
100%. They've not even been short-term injuries. You know, they've literally been ruled out for the season, almost every single one of them. So we physically can't pick them because they haven't played. Otherwise, we'll be having massive arguments about whether Miedemar gets in or Mead. In a way, I'm quite thankful to Arsenal because they made it a little bit easier today. We'd have been here till 11 o'clock trying to argue if they'd have still had their players.
So, right, I'll come to each of you then. If you just say one name, who you want on the right, and let's see where the majority is at.
Kirsty Hansen.
Meg?
Kirsty Hansen.
Rob?
Deferring the vote.
Oh, he's pleading the fifth.
He's about to say Sam Kerr.
I'm so tempted to this, Ron. I think Hansen or Kelly. I think you can make a strong argument for either. So, like, if I'll leave Mia here. That if you want to fight the case for Kelly, and then I will back the Kelly vote. Otherwise, Hansen can go in.
Do you know what? I'm absolutely happy with Hansen. I think she deserves it. I really do.
No, I don't disagree either. As I said, was she in my team? I think she was in my team on the right.
Can I just address one comment quickly? And
if it's the one about
the two players from Chelsea.
I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah, as a Chelsea fan, I'll say this year, we've won the league and won the FA Cup without playing particularly well. Like, a lot of the season, we've started through games. We've dropped some really silly points that, realistically, this was a season where we could have gone unbeaten. Apart from the game against City, we haven't really been outclassed or anything. It was silly mistakes against Liverpool that led to that loss on the opening day. The frightening thing, I think, from a opposition point of view, looking at Chelsea, is this year Chelsea haven't played very well. And Chelsea next year will come back and actually play better. They've been lacking, not had Kirby, not had Harder for most of the season. If they can get them fully fit and you can actually then start resting Guro Reiten and giving Lauren James a rest and actually resting Sam Kerr a bit. And again, Kerr hasn't, performed at her best this season, and Chelsea have said they're going to win it. I don't think there's many players here for Chelsea I would make strong arguments for. I think there are Chelsea players that have had strong seasons domestically. I think Nim Charles has had a good season. I think Jess Carter's had a good season. I think Lauren James has kicked on a lot this year. But the standard I expect from Chelsea players to get in a team like this is so high that I can't see many of them that I would make an argument for. I mean, if in the second half of the season, from January onwards, I think Ev Perisset's played phenomenally at fullback. But at the same time, Ona's been good all the way through the year and is the best fullback in the league. Is the best right back in the league. So there's not an obvious argument there. In central midfield, Cuthbert is the standout player, but none of the other central midfielders have been that spectacular for Chelsea. I mean, I would have made an argument for Sophie Ingle, but the thing is, I think Cuthbert can do what Ingle does and do it with more mobility. So I don't think Chelsea have necessarily played very well this year.
Just very quickly, sorry, Barry, just 2 seconds. I've just put a poll in the chat between Kelly and Hansen because obviously there's a lot of people disagreeing in the chat. So I want to see what the people in the comments are going to say. We'll come back to the right wing last.
Literally going to get to that. I was going to say we've been shoehorning according to the comments, but I was also going to say that I think it also shows that the quality of the WSL is improving because we've had massive squad games. The fact that I, as a Man United fan, can genuinely sit here and say that even though we were, I think, the second highest goal scorers in the league, and I'm not sat here absolutely losing my head over why we don't have Russo in, or Galton in, or Toon in, or Zellum, or lad. And I'm not having any of those arguments, because actually you do have to accept, as a wise man once said to me, that there are other teams in the WSL outside of Manchester United. And, you know, I think if you're going to be sensible about these things, you have to have those conversations. Now, my argument for Kirsty Hansen is clearly that she has played at right wing for her entirety of her life at Manchester United, but she's come into her own on the left wing. So if people want to go with Chloe Kelly, I'll back them. I'll go with them, because it was my point to say don't shoehorn people in. So if they are going to go with that she didn't play on the right wing this season, I'll happily go over with Rob and Mia if that's what she wants, because Chloe Kelly's pretty similar in terms of assists and goals and effort. So there's no dramas for me in putting Chloe Kelly there. But yeah.
Well, speaking of shoehorning, I'm going to leave that poll in the chat for about 5 minutes or so, and I'll come back to it in a second. So left back is obviously the only other position that we've got. 4 of us went for McCabe. Barry went for Hannah Blundell. Now, Barry makes a good point. You haven't really played a back 4. You know, McCabe as a natural left back in this side, would that work for you? Are we shoehorning in? Or, you know, McCabe has played left back in a back 4, so she can play there. You know, she's more than capable of it. And to me, she has been the best left-sided defender in the league. You know, I'm not going to say any more than that. That's why she's in my team. But what's your case for McCabe?
Yeah, I just think with the amount of, you know, different kind of like formations we've had to play, different combinations of players. Obviously, McCabe has been one of those that's kind of been there pretty much all season. We've not had, you know, any injuries with her, and everyone knows how versatile she is and where she can play, and you know, her work rate. And obviously towards the end of the season she took the captaincy. I just think she's all round just an incredible footballer, and I think she does sometimes go under the radar because of, you know, the likes of Beth Mead. Obviously we didn't have Beth Mead this season, but like Steena's got a lot of the limelight this season. Obviously Marnham totally deserves a lot of the limelight for stepping up to the plate this season. But I think Kate McCabe, she just always puts on a performance. It's always 6, 7s out of 10s, and she deserves a spot in that team. I
mean, Chris, if you're on about Pacheco, but obviously you know that I rate her as well. To be fair, as an outside, I'm going to come back to something like that. I've got a quick fire question after this before we come back to that. Mia, for yourself, you went for McCabe as well. Obviously, Blundell is the closest challenger, I feel. If there's going to be a debate on this, I think it's between those two. Would you say that? Or is it what's your case for McCabe or anything else you want to add on left back?
Yeah, 100%. I think Meg is bang on as well. I think in a season full of uncertainty and change and drama for Arsenal, she has been a sure thing for them. She consistently performs. She scores goals. She scores worldies when you don't expect it. She's hard as nails. She's tricky. She can play anywhere up that sort of that wide part of the pitch. You're right. Blundell is the closest challenger to me, 100%. And I think just briefly touching on today's announcement, she should feel absolutely gutted to not be involved. But for me, and again, it's going back to that sort of context and the fact that Arsenal needed a leader. She stepped up. There's been a lot of change. There's been a lot of uncertainty, but she's remained solid. She's remained consistent, and yeah, she's got to be in there for me.
Yeah, I mean, as long as she's not on penalties, yeah. I mean, don't even get me started on the one at Kings. That was horrendous. That one down there.
I think I turned the game off at that point because I just could not.
I'm pretty sure you hit the bar
it was
4 minutes after that as well.
It was delightful to see a Chelsea fan getting to do their part in helping Chelsea win the league. It's always great when you see one of your own getting to really impact a title race, and really appreciated that. I'm sure, like the tweet says, she could watch Chelsea lifting the trophy over and over again, and that's why. I have a bias to Hannah Blundell for a couple of reasons, because, firstly, she's a phenomenal person. She was one of the first players ever to sort of engage with the CSW socials content online. She was phenomenally supportive. She is just a terrific human being and a terrific left back to boot. And I'm delighted to see her staying injury free and showing how good she actually is. That said, I'm picking McCabe because I think that McCabe, as an all-round player, has slightly more in her locker. I think Blundell is probably better from a defensive standpoint, but I think McCabe offers more going forward in terms of the fact that she's not just a crosser. She can shoot. She's got a tremendous passing range on her. She does have set pieces in her locker. And also, she is one of those players that if she's in your team, you probably feel 10 feet taller. If you're coming up against her, you think, God, I'm going to effing hate this match because of the way she plays. She is constantly on the edge. And that is something, that isn't a bad trait for a player.
Yeah, I mean, Barry, obviously for yourself, you went for Blundell as Megan, Rob, and Mia have just said. It's close between those two. It's out of those two for that left back. Obviously, you went for Blundell. It's no surprise as to why. One of the best defenses in the league, and Blundell's been a big part of that, as you said earlier. She got player of the season for us, so the players around her clearly obviously value her and what she's done this season as well.
It's incredibly hard. I think the reason why these two positions have probably been left till last is because they're probably the ones that don't necessarily have standout players in them. There's numerous people you could potentially choose to go in there and make a reasonably good argument for, hence why they've ended up being the last ones. That's always the case. I find it interesting that left back is, again, the situation we've got to being like the last one, just like it was last time. Last time I was bullied into allowing Katie McCabe in at left back. Today I have a few more questions because you've just mentioned Katie McCabe hasn't really played left back this season. So it's going to depend on whether we go down the shoehorn route or not. That's going to be a big thing. If we are talking about the best pure left back this season, it depends on what you're looking for. Ironically, probably the same things that Serena Wiegman looked for. Jess Carter is a little bit better going forward. If you look at some of the things that have been mentioned, you look at her stats, some of her long balls are better, some of her passing is better, and she would be better than any of the names that we're mentioning. Whereas, if you're looking at just improvement, quality that you see with your eyes, you're going to go for either McCabe or Blundell. For me, it comes down to a very simple thing. Katie McCabe played for an Arsenal side that conceded, I think, 16 goals this season. Hannah Blundell played for a Manchester United side that conceded 12 goals this season. And she was in pretty much every single one of them. So, what does it come down to? It comes down to Manchester United deserve to have 4 players playing in this football team. And that's because, Connor, they had the best defence in the WSL by a ridiculously large margin. Hence, Hannah Blundell should be our left back. The defence rests.
I mean, it's hard to disagree, particularly as a United fan, to put, I'll get me words out. But I think it's Rob's just putting our private. This all comes down to me whether we're talking about putting players out of position. Because as we said earlier, Hansen didn't play on the left this season. McCabe is a left, can play left back, can play left foot. We've seen her all over that left hand side, but this season she has played slightly further forward, covering different positions as well. So it comes down to that simple question: if we're happy with putting players where we know they can play, we know McCabe can play left back in a 4, we know Hansen can play on the right. That's the big question mark as to whether we're happy to do that. Looking at the poll in the chat for the right wing, Hansen is 53%, Kelly's 47%, so it's still evenly matched pretty much there as well. So I think we're just going to have to pick a name because we could be here all night doing this. I think over these ones
said that they would fit Katie McCabe in wherever, like she just has to go. And I think that's the mindset that I kind of have. Like she just deserves to be in there somewhere. Like whether she's up front or stick her in there.
I think it just comes down to the rules. If we're going to follow the rules properly and put the players in their right position, then we need to go with Chloe Kelly and Hannah Blundell. If we're going to throw caution to the wind for these last two because of the fact there's a bit more of a movement around, then obviously it needs to be Kirsty Hansen and Hannah Blundell. So there you go.
You're so Lionesses FC, Barry. You and your English players.
Yeah.
But we do one of them that is McCabe at left back and Hansen on the wing, and one that is Blundell at left back and Kelly on the wing, and then you put it up as polls on your page and we see what people prefer. Because I think, I mean, I know that the Arsenal supporters group will rig it because they can't. They will hate the idea of having only one player in their team in the the All for United team of the season. But I think you can make valid arguments. To be honest, I'm happy with either of them again. It's a case.
I'd also just like to point out, Connor, that my 11 had 6 players that are not Lionesses FC in it, so that's over 50%. So your stats.
What you're saying is almost 50% of your 11 was Lionesses FC.
Can't be. Kirsty Hansen, Scottish. Guro Reiten is definitely not English. Marnham's not English. I don't think Daly's English, is she?
No.
Cuthbert's not, because she plays for Scotland. Ona is definitely not English, because we've had the Spanish flag out for her. So that leaves me with just Earps, Letitia, Blundell, Daly. I'm right.
So what I'm hearing is actually British bias, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, now that I could live with. But I can't argue with that. Can't argue with that accusation.
And now why you don't want Casey McCabe suddenly makes sense.
I think we're going to have to put this
Blundell in over here.
In the same way that we did it at the end of the year one, where we put it to Twitter. I think we're going to have to. The YouTube poll is 50-50 between Hansen and Kelly. So I really wanted to have a team by the time we finish this show.
Team McCabe.
For me, McCabe goes in. She's got 4 votes. I think she has to go in.
Why don't you do the same thing for left back as you've just done? So stick McCabe and Blundell on, and then in the right wing slot, we just put Chloe Kelly so that we know that we're playing by the rules.
I think the only issue I've got with this, I'm going to put this on Twitter afterwards. If we don't have McCabe and or Hansen, I think we're going to get absolutely... The fact we've debated it, I don't know. I can't see a team of the season where one of those are not in this team.
You can't see a team of the season where you can only pick 4 defenders, where the 4 defenders are from the 2 best defenders in the league. Yeah, that makes sense, Connor.
Look back, Barry. Connor's let you have Earps in goal. You should let him have McCabe at left back.
You know what, Meg? I think you are one of the most wonderful people I've ever met in my life, but I'm not shifting on this.
Even though Earps shouldn't have been a debate to begin with, but anyway.
If you want to put McCabe up on right wing, I'm with you all day long on that one. I'll fight that battle for you. But that back 5 is having 4 Man United players in if it's the last thing I do.
Well, it's not. You've been outvoted by...
I don't think I have.
We live in a democracy here. It's 4-1 at the moment.
Well,
You've
that's
not managed
what
to
you
convince
tell me.
Connor, just start typing that name in that player 4 now.
I'll put the tweet out and Barry will delete it straight out.
I absolutely would not. So, Mia, is that what you've gone for? Are you going Blundell or McCabe?
Again, it's really hard, and you make such a valid point. And
stick to your guns, Mia. Stick.
I do think it's got to be Katie McCabe. I don't think there's I don't think we can't include her. As much as Hannah Blundell's been unbelievable, I think.
Is there not also something to say about Blundell's availability, though? Like she's not going to get a red card for spanking someone over the end of the football.
I will give you the convincing argument for Katie McCabe, Barry. Katie McCabe's winner for Arsenal.
It makes her a more entertaining player, all right.
McCabe's winner against Arsenal stopped Manchester City getting Champions League football.
Right.
You are a Manchester United fan. You are hardwired to hate them. You spent most of the year, every time I came on this channel, with glee telling me how Manchester City weren't getting European football.
Yeah,
the one player that is responsible for that, you are now denying them a chance for their position.
Yes, because I'm promoting the player that got us second.
And that is arguably our goal of the season in the WSL, that goal. So.
Yeah, that arguably, give them something. That probably is the highlight of their WSL season. I mean, they couldn't beat you. They failed to beat us, even in a game that they had about 40 chances to win it. They drew with West Ham somehow. Give them this one thing to smile about.
I see your comment, Jonathan, about there being such bias. That's the whole point of why I wanted other fans on this, because otherwise, as Barry said, we'd be picking United players all over the place. That's the whole reason we want.
That goal from Katie McCabe was such a turning point in our season. Like,
if McCabe goes left back, Hansen's going right wing, and we can have 4 Man United players by proxy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against that argument of having
That's
Hansen
the best
on the
settlement I'm
right wing.
giving you.
Well, to be fair, that's my vote anyway. I want Hansen. I kind of want because I just don't. Well, Hansen's in my team on the right, so
Hansen is in mine. I'll have her anywhere as well.
I've got it written down here. Hansen is in my team on the right. McCabe on the
It's a great
left.
point as well, though. How many assists has Katie McCabe had?
4. Blundell's got 2. Sorry, I've literally just checked.
There you go.
McCabe scored 3. Blundell scored 1. However, backing up our United goal, though, as Barry said, McCabe was playing further forward for a bit of the season, whereas Blundell has played left back for the whole season. But yeah, goals and assists, there's no point looking at that because McCabe is clear on those two.
Because she was playing further forward, as you just said.
Right, Connor, if you want me to come on again, McCabe's got to be in that team, right?
Connor, if you want me to come on again,
There's a chance. Hang on, there's a chance. Connor, there's a chance to get rid of Barry here. You're never going to get an opportunity like this again.
Charlie, if you're in the comments, you're being promoted to host if Barry doesn't turn up for the next.
I would never use that over you, Connor. To be honest, I feel like I fought a very good fight, considering the fact that that team looks almost exactly like mine, with the exception of Raffaele at centre back, and of course the fact we haven't sorted out who player 10 and player 4 is. I feel pretty good with that. So from that, I'm going to retire. It's Blundell and Kelly for me if we're sticking with the rule. What you choose is up to you, lot. I'm perfectly happy. Good night, all.
Looking at the poll in the YouTube chat, Hansen, I'm going to end the poll because I say it will be going on or not otherwise. So Hansen is going out on the right. That's what we've agreed between the 5 of us, and the YouTube comments agree as well. So we will stick Hansen out on the right. Let's just go with that.
And McCabe goes in at left.
I'll put her in. I will say, I'll make sure I clip some things up from you, Barry. I've got one final question for you though before we wrap. It's kind of a quick fiery one for it is team of the season related. When I put this obviously on Twitter with our team, I'm going to put one honourable mention on the side, so you can pick one player that's your honourable mention that should be in this side, or that you feel anything like that. You know what an honourable mention is. So
we're going to go for the same one here. I'm sure.
Badly.
But yeah, one name from each of you, and we'll see who the one is.
Bunny Shaw.
Fair.
Obviously, Bunny Shaw's been in a lot of our conversation, so I'm going to say Bunny Shaw, but I would also say Mas Pacheco as well.
That's not a bad shout, actually.
Yeah, I'd say either Shaw or Hasegawa.
Well, if we're doing 2, because that's what it looks like, I would say Shaw also, and I'm also saying Millie Turner in centre back.
And if we're going 2, I'll add Blundell.
Right,
are we doing a manager of the team?
I mean, you could, if you want to do a manager, you can, you can go around the house.
How long are you going for, Rob?
I like if you look at expectation versus what they've achieved. I think you can make a strong argument for Mark Skinner. I think you can make a strong argument for Carla Ward. But I'm going to go for Willie Kirk because of the resources he had at Leicester. Okay, he did get to bring in a few signings in January, but it's not as if they were. It's not like Tottenham, for example, where they brought in a top English centre forward in Beth England, or like Brighton, for example, where they had quality sort of in the squad already. In the fact they've got a young Lioness, Stan Carter, that knows where the back of the net is. He had minimal resources, brought a few players on loan, used the squad really well, picked up key points in the games they needed to pick up points, and ultimately, realistically, they were safe before the final day. And I think if you just said to any Leicester fan after they'd been, when he was appointed, it was the game after they got thrashed by Chelsea at the King Power. I was there that day. They were completely dreadful, and they were lucky they didn't get to see Tetten. If you'd have told any Leicester fan, don't worry, you won't be in a relegation, chat on the final day, or sort of, you'll need mathematical improbabilities to be there, they'd have laughed at you. So it's Willie Kirk, by hands down. Emma Hayes did well, but was expected to win stuff. Skinner did well, but didn't win anything. If you'd won something, that maybe might sway me. And Carla Ward did well, but again, had the resources at Villa to do well.
I mean, it's a good argument for sure. People would ask, though, whether or not it was Willie Kirk or whether it was RB Leipzig that sorted that out, but never mind. Mia, who would you pick?
For me, it's Carla Ward. I think she's just been tremendous this season. I think the FA Cup run that they had was brilliant. Bringing in Rachel Daly, bringing in Jordan Nobbs, Lucy Staniforth. They're not like, it's quite harsh to say, but on the surface and prior to joining Villa, potentially washed players. And they've come in and absolutely, I know that's a bit harsh, but just transform this side. And they're first names on the team sheet. Nobbs is off to Australia, and yeah, I think Carla Ward.
Meg?
Yeah.
Sorry, Connor, you can go with that, I think, now. So.
Completely agree with Mia and would go with Carla Ward. I think, apart from the top four and, the teams at the bottom, I think Villa, they're kind of on their own in the middle. They're kind of trying to compete with the top four, but there's a big gap between them and, the teams below them sort of thing. And I think Carla Ward's done such an impressive job. Obviously, they had an incredible transfer window in January with, bringing in Nobbs and obviously Lucy Staniforth as well. I just think she's got the best out of some very good players, but some players that maybe you wouldn't expect to have seen such great performances from. And yeah, I just think, if any team are to push into the top four next season that isn't the original top four, it's going to be Villa, and massive credit for that will go down to Carla Ward.
Connor, who would you go with?
I love how we just swapped around roles here. I'm getting that's questions on my own.
I do chaos, remember?
No, Willie Kirk for me, because nobody gave Leicester a chance of staying up. But like Rob said, they were pretty much, a lot of fans had said they were down. They strung a couple of wins together, some big wins as well. Some performed well against some of the top four sides as well. I think he just got them playing good football. Obviously the keeper helped, as we found out earlier. But there's a reason she won. I think she's won Leicester's Player of the Season and Young Player of the Season, and she was only there since January. That shows how much of an impact she made, but also Willie Kirk as well. You can't discredit, what Carla Ward's done at Villa. As she said, she's building a good team there. If they have another good transfer window, you're looking at them next season. Could they start breaking that top four? I'd like to see it, because you've got another team then that's fighting for it. It's good for the league. And yeah, good old Skinner as well, because not going to lie, I've said to people all day in the last few days after finding some information out and things like that, I think he's massively overachieved with stuff that with what he's working with, especially what's going on above him. I think what he's done this season with this group of players, you mentioned the defensive record that we've spoke about all everything. I don't know why he's not in that conversation, because yeah, I'm not going to say anymore because I'll get into trouble. So I'll just leave it there.
I think if United had won either the league or the FA Cup, I would have completely probably said Skinner.
I think there's so many things you could go with that, isn't there? I mean, Emma Hayes probably isn't up for manager of the season, but she's certainly up for manager of the decade so far, getting all of those sorts of things sorted out. So I would definitely give her that. I think you've got to say about Skinner, it's something like the 7th biggest budget. So it's not a very big budget that we've got to do what he's done to get a second against some of these big guns. I think is really up there. But it seems a bit pointless saying Mark Skinner, even though he would have been my choice, purely because you've both gone for Kirk and for Ward. So really it comes down to, do we give it to Carla Ward, who effectively just robbed Manchester United and took a load of our players and made it their own? In other words, do I give it to the Manchester United B team, or do we give it to Willie Kirk, who, again, I believe was at Man United as well, wasn't he? So good job, and so was Jess Sigsworth. I think the bigger of the two achievements is probably Carla Ward's, purely because I didn't expect them to do as well as they've done this season. But yeah, I think either of those, Carla or Willie Kirk, very good shouts. Connor, over to you. Back to you in the studio.
No, I know Rob wants to throw a name up before we wrap this one.
Again, on the United channel, and I appreciate that. But again, this is partly due to the fact that at the start of the season, like a lot of United fans wanted to see them do badly. But I think the fact that Liverpool weren't ever really in any sort of relegation battle and the fact that they did push like a lot of the top teams, they gave them real games. I think Matt Beard did well to get as much as he did out of the squad. And again, it's important, I think, for the WSL, as we said, to have teams like Liverpool, teams like Villa that are investing and showing the money, because they are big sides, and it's time they start, acting like big sides.
That's a good shout, to be fair. Liverpool's such a weird team this season. Against like the top four, they looked really good, and then they had games like the one at the King Power against Leicester, and I'm like, how are you not relegated? Such a bizarre team to watch they were this season. Anyway, right, we shall wrap it up there because we've been going for 95 odd minutes. I knew this would be a long one. That's why we wanted this as a standalone show this time, not as attached onto something else, because I knew it would be a long one. Before we do wrap up, I'll get you guys to shout out your things and whatever else you want to do. Mia, I'll come to you first. Where can people find your work and obviously your Twitter account and everything else?
Yeah, so I am on Twitter at _Mia Claydon, and a lot of my work goes on to Woso Vavel on Twitter.
Definitely go and check that. You've done your own team of the season as well, I believe. That went out, was it yesterday? Or have I just made that up?
Yeah, a couple of days ago we did our team of the season, which was very different to this. I'll tell you that.
I'm pretty sure Barry's not going to like your shoehorn, and if it's the team that I remember seeing, I'm pretty sure you had a few players positioned in your
Barry's off Twitter.
So that's certainly one to check. Yeah, so make sure you go and follow in that. Rob, people know who you are by now. Your at is right there. But anything else, obviously, Atta as well. And
I was going to say the main one to plug at the moment is Atta F-Ball. A lot of content coming in the next couple of months. So yeah, just get involved, really.
Indeed. And Meg, for yourself?
Yeah, my Twitter, Megan Garbo3 on the screen. I'm very active on Twitter. I enjoy putting stuff out on Twitter. A lot of content I do is for FAWSL full time. And my next exciting thing is going to the World Cup in Australia. And on the job hunt now. So, yeah, a bit of a weird time for me at the minute, just finishing uni. But no, I'm excited for what's ahead. So just keep an eye on my Twitter.
Yeah, definitely go and make sure you check that out, John. No, appreciate that. It's a game of opinions. That's why we have opposition fans on, like Rob and Megan. Obviously, Mia adding a bit of a neutral sense to the conversation as well. Looking at it, that's why we do these things. Rob wasn't a fan of that comment. He's just turned his camera. Oh, he's back again. There we are. Sporty, yeah, we're going to have a few shows on this coming up in the next few weeks. Some transfer related things, and you might get some more information off us then. But for now, I will keep my mouth shut and not say any more. So you'll have to wait and see to hear what my opinions are in the next few weeks to see what comes up. Right, make sure you like in the video and subscribe. We might be back on Friday with a different type of show that might be pre-recorded tomorrow. So make sure you check that out for Friday, and we shall see you guys in the next one.